Welcome to Rewriting Perception's presentation of our game Zoo Escape. I'm Kris Yule and will be taking you through the first 5 slides. Rewriting Perception is made up of 5 members: James Bunch, Team Lead, Kismet, Unreal Script Assistant; Stephen Ferarra, Modeling and Level Design; Brady Lohner, Unreal Script Lead; Blake Bundy, Sounds, Visual Arts; and myself, Level Design. Originally, Zoo Escape was designed as a strategic assault tower game, with animals escaping a zoo to find their own homes in the wilderness. The original gameplay ideas included tower assault themed, strategy puzzle, choice and difficulty, and time spent in-game. Players must free animals before being able to use and purchase them, and a small map that did not extend past the camera's view. Original player goals were a bit different than what we have now as well. These goals designed as players going against a timer to get a set number of animals to the level exit before time ran out. Free animals from cages before they are available for in-game use, and resource collection. The player was going to have to find large quantities of food in order to purchase large quantities of animals. Now, Brady will be going over the gameplay changes that were made.
Thanks, Kris, for the breakdown on the first 5 slides. My name is Brady Lohner, and I'll be covering the next few slides for you guys. As you can see on this slide, we're trying to give you a depiction or a better idea of our overview for the game and how it has changed. Because of some conflicts between our initial design process and then the steps it took to actually implement things into our game kind of molded into a slightly different beast than we were originally intending. That's not exactly to say that we don't appreciate what our game has become. It's just that there are some differences between our original vision and where we ended up. Before, kind of like Kris said, we were looking for more of a tower assault strategy type game, but the game kind of molded into more of an action puzzle type strategy game, more than just an outright strategy game. As you can see here, we break down exactly where our game ended up genre-wise. One of the cool things during the game transition was integrating some of the similar ideas we had for the strategy game when we began to this more puzzle-oriented game. We always wanted to present the player with multiple opportunities or paths to choose from in order to complete a level, and this stayed the same regardless of strategy or puzzle. We felt this was a great way to allow not only multiple playthroughs of our game, but also diversity and originality in how the game was being played by the player. Another distinct feature we made sure to transition over was that every animal had their role. We made it a point to make sure that each animal could stand alone as its own, unique character with specific tasks that only the animal could complete. Examples being, our monkey character is the only character that can destroy a tower in the game. A lion character is our vicious animal. He's the only one that can take down the zookeepers trying to keep you from escaping. And our hippo, our big strong beast character, is the only character that is able to adequately destroy walls to free up paths for you to take. This really allowed us to build levels around the different mechanics of each animal and also adjust the difficulties of the paths to showcase the differences in game mechanics around these. This really allowed us to place traps and obstacles in each level that were unique enough to create different experiences from level to level. The last big change to our overall gameplay was our tutorial system. Originally, we had intended to create individual tutorials for each animal, as well as slowly integrating some of the traps and towers. However, with the design changes to the overall game, we felt it was more prudent and more playable to mesh everything together into one big tutorial system, so the player could fully grasp the concept of the game from the onset. And lastly, on this slide, you can see some of the changes we made to the overall player goals and challenges within the game. These were also more directly related to the overall change in the shape of our original game idea. We originally intended for there to be a timer that counted down to force the player to make quicker decisions, progress through the level faster. Ultimately, because of some of the aspects we changed in relation to the third bullet, we felt it was not in the game's best interest to rush the player through the levels. But, as you can see on the second bullet, the animals are set to be free at a much earlier juncture in the game itself. Essentially, what we did here was we allowed the player access to all of the animals from the very beginning of the game. As I spoke about earlier, we intended to introduce each animal individually, but because of the pacing of the game as a whole, we decided it was better to just give the players access to all of the tools that they would need from the beginning. Lastly, we changed the requirements for the animals the players needed to progress through our levels. Ultimately, we felt the game needed to be a bit more micro-oriented, where the player really had to appreciate how precious each individual animal was as an individual resource. We wanted the players to be really invested in each animal's individual life. As such, we determined the best way to give the player the sense of urgency with each animal was to shrink down the number of overall animals accessible in every level, so they would feel more inclined to use each one of the animals to the best of their ability. Thank you for your time. Now I will pass you off to Blake, who will be covering the next few slides for you guys. Enjoy.
Thanks, Brady. Hello, my name is Blake Bundy, and I was in charge of our visual and auditory assets and would like to go over our final build's mechanics in comparison to our original design. First, allow me to go over the HUD and the alterations it received. Originally, our HUD consisted of a timer, animal count, unit purchasing, and current unit selected icons. Due to time constraints, we ended up axing the timer and the animal counter, but did end up implementing a resource counter that tells you how many food crates you have collected. Now let's go over some of the basic mechanics of our game. To take control over a unit, you must right-click the desired unit. Notice how the camera snaps to the unit. To choose a desired movement path, you simply left-click on the terrain in the direction you wish to go. The selection and movement mechanics were successfully represented according to our first design. Another important mechanic in our game is the control of the camera. Pressing the spacebar once toggles a lock onto the selected unit. Holding down the spacebar allows the player to pan the camera to their will and scan ahead and plan. Although the free panning wasn't our initial design, it fit into our mechanics very well. Now on to the mechanics of the given units, in this case, the monkey. This unit's abilities were altered many times throughout development and eventually saw a drop in overall abilities when we cut out one of the small paths that the monkey could travel. This feature was chopped due to movement issues and the inability to discern what is an applicable path and what is not. The mechanics that did make it into the monkey's arsenal were the ability to climb and disable turrets and open cages for other units. These abilities really seem to fit the unit's role in terms of gameplay, whereas the monkey is often a speeding sacrificial lamb that disables turrets for the rest of the units to get past. This concludes my overview of the HUD and basic mechanics' design and implementation. Now I'll hand it over to our team lead, James.
Thanks, Blake. My name is James, and I'll be going over the lion, hippo, and the challenges the player must face in the following slides. The lion is a unit that specializes in attacking any gun-wielding enemies, such as patrolling zookeepers. The lion ended up fundamentally being the same as we originally envisioned, but we ended up making it the fastest unit and beefed up his health a bit so he could fulfill his role. Although originally there's going to be some sort of RTS battle system implemented, we couldn't feature it due to time and knowledge restraint. The last unit is the hippo. The hippo was originally made to break walls and take damage from unknown areas, and he does just that. He is able to withstand heavy damage due to his overwhelmingly high hit points. That is about 2.5 times the monkey's. The only downside to this unit is that he's the slowest of them all. We knew that after we decided to change the pace of the gameplay that the fun would be dependent on the level layouts and the challenges that came with them. The two original enemies that were already thought up were the turrets and the zookeepers. Zookeepers were originally supposed to sit in a single spot, but eventually we thought it would be best to add zookeepers that patrolled as well. The turrets worked as intended, however, they ended up being variations added, such as turrets that shot in specific directions whenever a player hit the trigger, or just shooting at the player. To add some more variation, we decided to add some traps into the level. Some of the traps included moving cars, spikes, trapdoors, and hidden zookeepers. This helps give different levels some variation between each other and keeps the players on their toe. Moving on, Stephen will take it from here and finish the next few slides.
Thanks, James. As you may know, my name is Stephen Ferarra, and my major contribution to Zoo Escape is in the area of level design. The 6 levels of Zoo Escape span over 3 distinct themes, beginning with the animals escaping the actual zoo, followed by the animals hitting the city, and the animals making it to the wild in the final theme of the forest. Originally, Zoo Escape was planned to have 5 levels of each theme, bringing the total of levels to 15. Due to time constraints, the decision was made as a team to bring in the scope by cutting down the amount of levels per theme considerably. The challenges that arose in development of Zoo Escape came from all different fronts. There's a wide variety of scripting-oriented challenges that required a large amount of research, lack of sleep, the occasional banging of one's head on walls, desks, or really any hard surface they could find. Scripting challenges were overcome purely by the amount of man-hours put in by both Brady and James, along with one-on-one meetings they conducted with Jared. Other challenges came to light in the area of level design, because the levels were constructed so early in development that when our focus of the game mechanics changed from strategy and tower attacking to action platforming, traps, and puzzles, several members of our team had to think of ways to work in these new mechanics for levels built for other mechanics. While this was indeed challenging, it was a creative challenge, while the scripting challenges were more of a technical hurdle that had to be overcome. Overall, the major changes that we made to our original design document are ones that ultimately make Zoo Escape a more polished and fun game experience. We turned the focus of the core gameplay away from a slow-paced strategy game to a faster action-oriented game because we felt that UDK is better suited for that type of game. The mechanics that we had in place from the start were indeed ones that we as a team still believe would make a successful and fun game, but with more use of UDK, we learned that the style of game is best suited for a different engine. Thank you, and we hope you enjoy your time with Zoo Escape. We know we enjoyed our time with its construction.